Hello, everybody. My name is Ron Gonen. I'm a professor at Columbia Business School, and I focus on teaching social entrepreneurship. Welcome to the Social Enterprise Conference, and specifically to the Social Venture Pitch Competition. This is really exciting. This is what it's all about: coming to business school, having an idea, making a difference in the world, getting up on stage, and presenting the idea. I'm going to be very brief in the opening comments because this is about the students who had the ideas and for them to present, for you to hear about them. So just very quickly, I'm going to introduce the judges and then the format, and then we're going to go ahead and get started. So we have John Walker. Yep. Oh, John. John is a director of finance at Echoing Green, which is a great organization. If you're in business school, I highly recommend that you look at the organization and potentially see how you can get involved. And he's also a professor at SIPA, is that correct? Correct. Yes. Over to my immediate left is Lisa Williams, who graduated in 2011. She's currently an investment associate at Imprint Capital. So welcome, Lisa. Welcome back. Over on my far left, we have Yasmina Zaidman, Director of Communications and Strategic Partnerships at Acumen Fund, which is a phenomenal organization. Many of you will have the opportunity probably to read a case study about the Acumen Fund in some of your classes. So it's an introduction to the judges. The presenting companies are going to have 5 minutes to present. Then we're going to take about 3 minutes to ask questions, give any comments. We'll move on to the next presentation. After all the presentations have been completed, then you, the audience, will have an opportunity to ask questions or give feedback, and then we will have a vote. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get started with the first presentation, which is Donnel. And it's BlocPower. So, Donnel, are you, oh, there you are, okay.
Thanks, Ron. Oh, great, this is on. Hi, everyone. My name is Donnel Baird. Get situated here. I am an MBA here at CBS. Before that, I helped labor union pension funds advise the Department of Energy on allocating $6.5 billion in energy efficiency financing under the stimulus. I worked with faith-based organizations in Washington, D.C. to convince the mayor of D.C. to invest $100 million to hire local unemployed D.C. residents to retrofit homes in the underserved parts of D.C. Our agenda today, really quick, we're going to take a step back and look at the overall landscape and the particular problem that we're trying to solve with BlocPower, and then the solution that we propose with BlocPower. The value chain is, how does BlocPower really work? Financials are about, is it going to make money? We'll talk a little bit about the market, the risk, the sort of partnerships and team that we've structured, and the type of impact we'd like to have. So where are we? What's the situation or landscape? Solar and energy efficiency products that can have dramatic impact on kind of the environmental context. There's emerging new financing models that would allow the increased uptake of solar and energy efficiency products. There's no national U.S. environmental carbon emissions policy, and as we all know, there's rapidly increasing global temperatures and extreme weather conditions and melting ice caps. On the other hand, underserved communities are in a state of economic decline. Unemployment rates in these areas can be as high as 50%, sometimes higher. And churches, schools, and small businesses in these underserved communities can spend as much as 30% of their overall total income on their energy bill. Ooh. This is a problem because these property owners are actually overpaying for electricity. Their buildings are energy inefficient, and they are not being connected to the new emerging, no money down solar and energy efficiency products that can help them lower their overall energy spend. Our solution is to market a portfolio of energy efficiency and renewable energy products, no money down, to churches, small businesses, nonprofits, charter schools, and underserved communities. By aggregating these customers into blocks of 10 to 15 property owners, we will negotiate pricing discounts, not unlike Groupon in that sense, but we'll also negotiate community hiring quotas to hire local unemployed folks to do the installation and construction work, so to install the panels, to install the smart thermostats. Here's how it all works. The two buckets of products that we are selling are solar leases, and we can get into that in the question and answer portion, and energy efficiency, smart thermostats like the net thermostat featured here, LED lights, air sealing for windows and doors. BlocPower will use community organizing tactics and marketing tactics to aggregate interested customers into a block or tranche. We will run a credit analysis on the block or tranche, really similar to microfinance, to get a sense of the ability to repay. So for instance, in placing solar on a church, we might evaluate the congregation size. Is it growing? Is it shrinking? How much revenue is the pastor getting from the church? What's the board diversity of the church? How connected are they inside and outside the community? How long is the leadership in there, et cetera? Then we connect this block of customers to energy efficiency financiers and solar financiers like First Solar, Sungevity. In some cases, we will finance energy efficiency retrofits, again, sealing windows and doors, replacing insulation, paying for smart thermostats, paying for LED lights for these customers directly, and we expect to give investors a 3% return. So BlocPower, our outcomes are jobs, energy savings for community organizations, a positive return on investment in year one, and carbon emissions reductions. $50 billion market, over 500,000 of these organizations, including 10 million residential homes in American underserved neighborhoods. And these are the types of customers. We've talked about the small businesses, the solar leasing companies who will pay us our marketing fees, energy efficiency companies, commonly known as ESCOs, and utility companies and governments who will hire us to help them manage and administer and implement their energy savings profile. We think that we're going to spend $3,000 to aggregate a block. We're going to recoup $5,000, and so there's a $2,000 contribution margin per transaction. When we directly finance energy efficiency retrofits, such as LED lighting, we think we'll make a 12% return in year one, and we'll return 3% of that to investors. And so we think we're going to be, have a positive net income in year one, which will grow considerably in the first 5 years. And these are pretty conservative projections. There's risks. Big Bird is not the only government program under the gun. Solar tax credits may be as well. And in terms of our partnership and team, we've been invited to partner with Sungevity out in Oakland to be incubated in their national headquarters. They're the second largest player in the space. The community organizers that I work with have 1.2 million members in underserved communities, again, churches, faith-based organizations, nonprofits, that we will become our customers, as well as national labor federations with over 5 million members. Here's our team. It's myself, another one of my co-founders is a colleague from Obama, a third is a co-founder of DonorsChoose.org. And last is the impact. Here's my baby nephew, Christian. He's 10 months old. Around that beautiful playground is Newark, New Jersey, which is a really environmentally unsafe to live. There's toxins in the water, there's particulate matter in the air, and more broadly, BlocPower will help to solve those problems, but increase a broader participation in the types of stakeholders who are engaged in national environmental policy. Thank you.
You guys, anybody want to start with questions, comments?
I can start. Love the baby picture. I guess just some quick feedback. I think it'd be great to hear more about where, they're not going to be able to answer questions now, so just for future reference, just to know more about where you are right now in terms of the business and what stage you're at, if you've begun this process, and even if you've negotiated some relationships to date, just to get a feel for whether this is blueprint stage or you're starting to make some momentum. And also, you obviously, time constraint, addressed the risks section very lightly, but this is one where we'd want to see a lot more emphasis in your analysis of the risks, changes in policy, specific risks in terms of engaging communities, just to really know that you've thought through those, because the good stuff we can sort of look at, but it's always the risks that we rely on you to help us understand. Thanks.
I agree with that comment on risks, and I also thought it'd be interesting if you could talk a little bit about how you're going to identify the talent in the community that's actually going to do the work, because there could be a mismatch there. Are you going to provide the skill set training for them to be able to do the retrofits, and what if there's a shortage of supply?
And obviously, full disclosure here, Donnel being a Acumen fellow, I already think he's amazing. So, but I think one of the comments I'd make just about the presentation is really the assumptions that you're making in the financial model. It looks like there's quite a lot of net income coming pretty quickly, so somebody's going to want to look at that in detail right up front. And also the aspects, like just coming back to risks again, the competition, maybe not the competition, but what are the other factors that could affect take-up of this kind of technology? And I think there's something that happens in New Jersey about tax sort of credits around this kind of solar energy. So what other sort of factors there could affect your access to market? That kind of stuff would be good extra detail to know about.
I would explain to people a little bit how PPA contracts work, which you have in there. So for most Americans, their view of the economics of electricity is you turn a switch on and it comes on and you pay a bill every month. But it might be helpful to show to folks that, if you take a city like Newark, people are paying, let's say, 12 cents a kilowatt hour for electricity. Through your program, they're going to be paying 11.5 cents a kilowatt hour, 12 cents a kilowatt hour, so people understand that there's going to be a direct financial incentive for people to want to use your service, because I think sometimes there's a perception that doing something that's environmentally conscious is the right thing to do, but it's a luxury, it's a little bit too expensive, and so someone may perceive a disconnect between folks in some of these low-income communities being able to actually pursue your solution because they just don't have disposable income. And so I think it's important for you to explain, I think people know the solar industry will know this, but for you to explain very clearly that people will either actually be getting a discount on their electricity or they'll be paying the same rate, but equally as important, you're going to be locking them in for a certain price for 20 years, which is important for a lot of families to provide. But I've seen this presentation, grow up along the way, and you deserve a lot of credit. This is it's looking good. So.
Thank you. All right. I don't get to answer any of that, right? Great. Thank you.
Okay. Next up is we have Lena Cogan, and she's the Director of Finance at Powerhive.
Hello, everyone. We just heard from Donnel about smart ways to deploy renewable energy and just clean energy across communities in the United States. And I'm sure he's going to go on to do great work in that regard. But what I'm here to tell you today is that the real need and opportunity to unlock clean, productive, and affordable energy is in emerging markets for millions of households, where in fact you don't need to rely on the government subsidies to make the business case. We had several panels today that were a great segue into this presentation. So as some of you now know, there are about 1.5 billion people around the world who still live off the grid. And while many of them may be considered poor, they nevertheless spend already up to $37 billion annually on kerosene and diesel and other fossil fuels. What we are trying to do is to take that same $8 to $10 a month that households currently spend on kerosene and offer them real productive electricity that's 1,000 times cleaner and better. Right now, what we have is a perfect storm. Thanks to investments from China and from the US, there are significantly declining costs of solar panels, but also of batteries that have been developed for electric cars. And at the same time, the telecom infrastructure has been rapidly deployed across emerging markets with mobile money platforms on the rise. And so if these factors weren't in place, then this solution wouldn't be possible. But this is a perfect storm today. So what are we offering? Our customers currently in Kenya, they get real productive AC electricity. And there are many solar kits and solar lanterns. They get a socket in the wall where they can plug in all kinds of electric appliances because AC is compatible with all the appliances on the market. They can watch small TVs, plug in small refrigerators, sewing machines, etc. We offer electricity through solar microgrids. So these are very modular and scalable, which is why we picked them to start. And they also allow for load balancing across different households. So this makes the assets less risky and ultimately more financeable, which is, we have both a technology and a financing model for this. Customers prepay us over their mobile phones, currently through M-Pesa. Our software and hardware unlock the electricity and monitor usage. And when they When the credit is low, we send them an automatic text message, and until they top up again, the lines get shut off if the credit runs out. So this also mirrors their current payment stream for kerosene, so we don't want to change the consumer behavior fundamentally, and it also allows us to generate a lot of robust real-time data on the consumers that also makes the assets more financeable. We work through local partners and are scaling energy as a service so that the consumers don't have to take on the burden of maintenance for these systems. And ultimately, Powerhive earns a % of the recurring electricity sales and a hardware licensing fee. This is our rockstar team. Chris is a serial entrepreneur, and before founding Powerhive 2 years ago, he actually was in a clean energy, a solar charging company with a product called Solio, which you may be familiar with. So he knows how to do this. I have spent most of my life in emerging markets. I've lived in Russia, Brazil, Kenya, Afghanistan, you name it. And I understand both the policy landscape and the community engagement, as well as the financing, because I have worked with banks, development finance institutions, microfinance organizations, and others. Rick has worked with mobile network operators and introduced solar devices across 30 countries in Africa and Asia. Matt finished his PhD in Columbia, designing some of the first microgrids here for Millennium Villages. Jane grew up in East Africa and spent 15 years as a software as a service product manager. And we also have Baird and a team of 4 people in Kenya currently, which you don't see on the slide right now, that are the boots on the ground and building the systems. Our advisors come from the utility sector, from solar panel manufacturers, banks that pioneered the solar leasing landscape in the US, and others. So this is a snapshot of our hardware and software that communicate over the cloud, and they allow to precisely and cost-effectively meter electricity, and also have a lot of smart grid management capabilities that I don't have time to go into right now. This is a snapshot of our first pilot in Kenya. It was deployed in less than 6 days from start to finish, and it's 100% operational for over a month. And each of our 16 households has been prepaying on their 5th or 6th prepayment already. It's working as we planned, thankfully. And we already have over 50 sites identified throughout the region. And actually, some of the customers in the neighboring villages got a hold of the blank applications, photocopied them, passed them around. We have a backlog of 5,000 customers now. And just lastly, the partnerships that we've developed with crowdfunding platforms, solar manufacturers that are looking to vendor finance our larger deployments, local microfinance organizations, mobile network operators, and we have an insurance package that's a large German conglomerate is underwriting theft of our systems. So in summary, massive opportunity and a best technology, highly scalable business model, and a proven team to make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything?
That was a very impressive presentation from a communications perspective. I also appreciated the written material that you had prepared. It's very useful to have that handy. Yeah, I mean, just generally very positive reaction. I appreciate that you're building on existing infrastructure, so you're not starting from scratch. Obviously, very strong partnerships, and the fact that you have something on the ground. I think just getting something going, by hook or by crook, says a lot about the people that you're willing to convince, from customs officials to local communities. So applaud you for just getting started.
I would also be curious to know, as you roll this out into different locations, your marketing strategy for acquiring new customers. I think it'd be helpful to have some color on that.
And I think the only thing, I don't know if I missed it, but there was some, obviously with that kind of infrastructure required in order to deliver on the sort of service model and the pay-as-you-go, there's some investment in capital infrastructure required up front. And so I think a little bit more visibility in the presentation on that kind of topic would be a good addition. Yeah, but great.
I think understanding from a process flow standpoint, visually, how everything works from the point of you identifying a market, someone understanding and learning about your product, to delivery, to service, And seeing that visually from a process standpoint would be helpful. You spoke to it, and you spoke to it very eloquently, but it's much easier to hear you say it and then actually see the flow, but then to also take it away and have to explain it to somebody else. It's important to have that flow, because a lot of very well-educated and experienced people have no idea how things actually work in emerging markets. So just take a little bit of what you were saying and just try and map it out from a process flow standpoint. All right. Thank you. Okay. Next we have Toure McCluskey, founder of OkCopay.
This is Tracy. She makes $10 an hour with no health insurance. Last year, she had a major toothache and needed to see a dentist. But she didn't think she could afford it. So she did what most of us do when we're looking for deals. She went online. And she found rating sites, review sites, even appointment sites for doctors and dentists, but no cost information. Even when she would call the local dentist office, she couldn't get a straight answer as to how much her routine visit would cost her. So she ended up going to a nearby dentist and had 2 cavities filled. Her bill was $1,300. Now, no one in the audience knows whether that's fair or not, but I can tell you, across the street, a board-certified dentist would have done the same procedure for nearly $1,000 less. This is a huge problem in healthcare. Whether you're getting a dental exam or an eye exam, MRI, vaccine, whatever it is, prices are a complete mystery, and they're all over the map. So much so that Americans have become afraid to seek medical care. Tracy, in her case, she wasn't afraid of the dentist's drill, she was afraid of her bill. Now, the cool thing is this is a solvable problem. My name is Toure McCluskey. I'm founder of OkCopay, and I'm here to tell you, while this is a truly massive problem, it's solvable. Because this is not a cost problem when you think about it. It's an information problem. You see, for Tracy, there were a number of more affordable options near her, but she had no easy way of knowing about it. So what if Tracy could go to a place to find reliable pricing details before she made the appointment? And what if that same platform could give her the ability to compare doctors and dentists on the basis of price, convenience, and quality? That's OkCopay. We make it very easy to find the right doctor at the right price. So for instance, it's very simple. Tracy would tell us that she needs a dental exam in downtown Chicago. She hits the big orange Search Now button. We come back and show her all of her options in downtown Chicago and the prices. And what's really cool about this, you'll notice at the top of the screen, she can pay anywhere from $60 to $490 for the exact same procedure. Now, some of you may say, well, it's not all about price when you're looking for a doctor. I absolutely agree. And that's why we give you, it's more about value, right? Making sure you're getting a good doctor at a good price. So we also provide the ability to look at the doctor's credentials. So if you see on the left-hand screen, it's a little bit cut off there, but you can also filter the results on the basis of quality. So you can filter off of board certifications and even years of experience. Tracy, she was more concerned about finding a doctor or finding a dentist who was available on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, because she had a very inflexible work schedule. You can filter off of that as well. So this is revolutionary for people like Tracy. Why? It means no more surprise bills. It means no more making huge financial decisions in the dark. Now, OkCopay is for people who are paying out of pocket for their medical procedures. There's 3 big buckets. Right? The first is people who are uninsured, right? That can be entrepreneurs like myself. It can be freelancers, hourly workers, people who are working temp jobs. Actually, 49 million Americans fall in this bucket. Also, this is for people who may be insured but have gaps in coverage. And the biggest gaps in coverage are dental and vision, over 100 million Americans. And the third piece are people who are looking for elective care, things that are never covered by insurance, such as cosmetic procedures, LASIK surgeries, even travel vaccinations. Currently, we're on the ground in 2 cities, Chicago and Milwaukee. We cover 72 procedures, most of them routine in nature, things you can plan for. So this isn't appropriate for emergency situations or brain surgery, but for vaccinations and routine exams, it's right up our alley. In addition, this is a scalable business. So for those 2 cities, we've already generated 55,000 verified prices in Chicago and Milwaukee. Now quickly, we make money by connecting cash-paying patients with doctors and dentists who want to reach them. So there's 2 models. One, if you're a dentist and you want to run a promotion, you can advertise on our site for a fee. In addition, we have a premium model, a premium listing model, where a basic listing is free, but if you want to have a more robust listing, say pictures and video on within your listing, there's a subscription charge for that. So OkCopay, we're helping people like Tracy find the care they need and not go broke trying to pay for it. Thank you.
Lisa, do you want to go ahead and start?
Sure. So I think it looks, and this is a reaction to the presentation and the way the business model it appears, that you've got a first stage business model, which is about trying to sort of correct for a pricing spread in the marketplace. And that really does deliver quite a lot of social value because it creates a better, or people can get access to better price services. But then over time, you'd almost say that the success of that social mission is removal of that price differential. So you get to the point where everything's priced correctly. And then it's a problem of how do you continue your revenue sourcing, and that's when you move into sort of like a dentist sort of advertising business. That was the kind of takeaway I got from that there. So I think the only comment or advice I'd say is just make it clear where sort of the revenue is going to come from and the profitability over the course of time, and try and remove, if that is a correct assumption or inference, try and remove that. That's all.
I think it would be helpful if you also explained what a verified rate is. So is that verified by customers or practitioners? That'd be helpful also. But I thought it was good, very emotionally charged.
And yeah, for me, I really appreciated sort of telling the story of the business model through the lens of a customer. I think that's really powerful to understand who you're trying to serve and what the experience would be for them. But I agree, I think in terms of really fleshing out the business model, just understanding the long-term vision and the economics of it, particularly in terms of scale, how big does it have to be before it becomes a viable business?
So you're obviously addressing a major, major problem, so you're headed in the right direction. That's always a major positive. You're solving a major, major problem. I think you've got a pretty cool solution for it. The things that I would want to know are how are the doctors going to find out about you? Okay, so I wasn't sort of clear on, there's lots of people that kind of want to launch websites and hope that it goes viral. There's maybe 0.01% of all the websites out there that actually happens for. So how are you going to get the doctors involved and aware? How are you going to get customers, the patients, the people aware and involved? So that would be really interesting to know. And number 2 is, what does each transaction look like? Are you taking 3%? Are you taking 5%? Are you taking 10%? What are the economics off of every transaction? So I think explaining those will complete the business model for the viewer, but you're headed in the right direction. So. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. We're now going to go ahead and open it up to questions from the audience. What I'd like to do is actually have everybody come up on the stage. Okay, so let's see everybody. And we can go ahead and spend about 10 to 15 minutes asking questions of any of the presenters that we want. So with a show of hands, if anybody would like to start the questions. Go ahead. How are you?
Brian, my question is for you. I was also very intrigued by your presentation. And I wanted to know Ron's question about what your plan was for reaching out to doctors and how you plan to build on that. And the second to that, because ZocDoc has done something kind of similar, where have you thought about how you might differentiate yourself from another website that was already built that's
Sure. So in terms of customer acquisition, which I think is your question, we've developed many partnerships to get the word out about OkCopay. So in Chicago, we're working with Chicago Department of Public Health. We're reaching out to a number of workforce development programs because a lot of people who are uninsured don't have jobs as well. And we're looking at even partnerships with senior communities as well. So leveraging those partnerships helps us spread the word and have a larger footprint than we can do alone as a bootstrap company. Now in terms of ZocDoc, I mean, there are a lot of companies out there that do have appointments or reviews or ratings. I think they're solving a little bit of a different problem than we are. I'm really focused on just providing that pricing transparency to a cost-conscious consumer, where they're more interested in making sure that you can find a good appointment right away. And that's usually going to be the insured patient. But I think there's a lot of ways to work together too, because at the end of the day, you're going to be interested in finding a good doctor at the right time, at the right place, for the right price. So I think there's a number of ways to partner with those other websites, but I'm strictly focused on solving that pricing problem.
Okay. Other questions from the audience? Go ahead.
Yes.
So we actually invested in an organization who does very similar work to what you're trying to do. It's called the DC Project. I think they're just renewing grants well. And one of the things that, I mean, we worked a lot with them because the idea is tremendous and similar to what you're doing as well. But they also had a lot of things that they wanted to do. They wanted to generate jobs, create jobs, sell renewable energy products, and all these. I'm trying to understand what, in terms of staging, what are you going to first focus on in terms of creating jobs or providing like doing the energy retrofits or like just kind of placing it step by step what you're trying to do more of it. Also the type of financing which you think to like grow the business as well.
To the financing that we would take in to grow the business. So a couple different things there. Thank you for your question. So we have a hybrid model. We're starting out with an LLC, which will then convert to an L3C, and there's also a nonprofit that will bear the kind of workforce development costs that no VC or private investor is going to want to take on. DC Project or Groundswell, I know the founders well. They were colleagues on the Obama campaign, and I worked closely with them in DC. They have a nonprofit-based model. The DC market suffers from a lack of subsidies for the type of energy efficiency work that they're doing, and I think what we are trying to do is to move away to lower customer acquisition costs in the solar financing and energy efficiency industry by going to community organizations where there are already existing networks of relationships, right? So the Industrial Areas Foundations has, hundreds of churches in its network, right? And so instead of knocking on someone's door like DC Project and trying to convince one customer at a time, about the value, the economic value to the customers Ron talked about, why it's actually cheaper to get a power purchase agreement, we're interested in, well, can you talk to 50 churches at a time? And so we're trying to operate at a much larger scale. The first part of your question, I'm not sure that I recall the step-by-step process. So we are marketing about 4 products right now, and we are going to do a pilot, which speaks to your question, in Harlem with small businesses that the business school advises. And so these are small storefronts where we'll be installing Nest thermostats, LED lighting, and solar where appropriate. But the issue is each building is really unique and has a unique energy efficiency or solar profile. So a building may be a really good place to install, to seal the windows and doors or to install a smart thermostat, but it may be a terrible place to do solar. And so each building requires a kind of energy audit to gain a sense of what the appropriate product solution is going to be for that particular business. And so we offer all of these products now to our potential customers, and we kind of fit the appropriate mix of products to each individual customer, and that's part of the value we're trying to create. Thank you.
Thanks. Other, all the way in the back there? Yeah, thank you. Please state your name and where you're from.
Hi, John Alden, Annapolis, Maryland. To Toure, a question. I liked all of the things that each of the entrepreneurs presented, but your business feels very intriguing and reasonable and with a potential payoff, but unless I missed it, how do you scale it? So suppose I invited you to come to my town and do it right now for us. It might not be the business model you have, but how are you going to roll this thing out and make it a truly national, international service?
Thank you for your question. So I think there's two aspects of making it scalable. One is getting the data, right? And as you can see, over the course of just a handful of months, we've been able to get 55,000 data points for our database. So we're very adept at getting data right now. It's a very well-oiled machine, and we can be in and out of a major city, not like New York, but say, for instance, Indianapolis or Minneapolis. It would take us about 5 to 6 weeks to get all the data we need to populate the database. So it truly is a scalable model because we have a research team that's in place, and they're very good at getting the data out of the customer. The next piece would be around, well, how do you make money in each city? And that takes a sales force on the ground, at least 1 or 2 people in each city to do so. We also are looking at an inside sales model, so we can have a team of people in a central location who can also make those calls to doctors and sell them on, why advertising with OkCopay is much better than doing a yellow page ad or a direct mail campaign. We think, the targeted audience that we're delivering to doctors who want to advertise makes it a very valuable proposition to them.
Did you have a question? Please.
Since Alina started off with voice, Alina, can you talk a little bit more about the financial model and about, you talked about $8 to $10, what they're paid today, what you'll be charging or what the economic model is?
Sure. And I can address also John's question about the financing for the assets themselves, which sort of goes hand in hand with the revenue, the cost and the revenues, in effect. So on the revenue side, just to start with yours, customers are spending kind of between $6 and $10 a month. Right now in our pilot, they're spending on average $10.50 a month on electricity. What they're getting for it is about several lights, a small TV, a radio probably, and cell phone charging. So what our model allows them to do is to scale their consumption. So there is a large variability. Some customers are just starting with lights. Others are, and these people 5 weeks ago only were burning kerosene. So they already, a couple of them bought TVs. They're saving up for computers. So we expect that consumption to go up over time. And we have very variable pricing, daytime pricing, nighttime pricing, that we will also experiment with price elasticity, and that's part of the smart grid management, about making sure that depending on our debt terms, kind of how we can repay the systems, but also offer the best possible service and the most affordable service for the consumers. And then on the question of the cost and the financing, we're starting with, this is a financing model as well as a technology platform. We are working with local partners, and we will be helping them raise some of the financing, initially with 2 avenues. On one hand, the crowdfunding, which we have a partnership with Kiva to crowdfund some of our systems, and we're trying to do mainly debt on these systems, but also we are negotiating an MOU with one of the large solar manufacturers and talking maybe to several others for vendor financing at slightly larger scales. There are lots of inventories right now of both the solar panels and the batteries, and we're trying to leverage those for emerging markets. And then ultimately, we've already started approaching some of the banks, and the feedback we've been getting is that this does seem like the right type of product for them. We just need more scale. So if we can bring them a larger ticket size, or kind of once we can get more traction on the ground and more scale, then we're looking to get more commercial funding for these projects.
Okay, great. We have time for one more question. Do you want to go ahead there? Yeah, sure.
Building off that really quick. So I'm assuming that the returns on your investment in the short run are going to be fairly marginal, and that you're going to have to weather a short-term storm to get to the long-term payoffs that probably the banks are looking for. So how do you, to all of us, what's your advice and what's your plan for the short term, starting a business, scaling it up, when the returns on your investment are very small?
Sure. And you're right that this is a long-term, this is an infrastructure play in effect. We're setting up small distributed utility companies, and it is very capital intensive upfront. The advice, we were lucky in this company because one of the founders had successfully exited a previous company and used his capital to build the product and to get to the revenue stage before building out the rest of the business. I think when you have a clear, large market opportunity, and as much of the product as you can get developed before you start your fundraising, that really helps to make the business case. And looking for, now that the crowdfunding can be a great source of capital, both on the debt and the equity, and we'll probably see more of that coming up for social entrepreneurs. And just any way you can scrap up money along the way till you get to that stage where you can show the business case. There will be strategic partners who will help you along the way because they'll see the end game and the opportunity of those long-term revenues.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, we're going to go ahead into the audience voting session. Does everybody know how to vote? Is anybody unclear? Okay, pretty clear. All right, so we're going to give everybody a few minutes to vote. Just before we go ahead and do that, could we just give everybody a round of applause? Okay, so if everyone could take the time, give it some thought, place your votes, and then we'll come back to you.
My name is Leah Peterson-Thomas. I'm the CEO and founder of MGood. We're currently sponsoring the mobile voting. Just like to thank Alex and Albert for the invitation of being here and all the good work that the Columbia Business School students have done in putting this together. So if we could just give them a brief round of applause. Just want to acknowledge my partners in the audience. We have Emily Curran. She just graduated from Columbia Business School, class of 2010, along with Lily Chan. So just briefly, a little bit about MGood. So who are we and what are we doing? We're in the business of optimizing inspiration. So what does that mean? All of you have a little thing in your hand right now, right? What's this called? Mobile phone? So right now, we're developing a business model, actually. Not-for-profits and social causes really don't have any issues in inspiring people, right? You walk away from a concert, you walk away from a video, and you're like, that's cool, I wish I could do something. And you also walk away with this device. And so what we're doing is we're creating a synergy between the ability to inspire and the ability to actually take action and or give. And so in addition to the mobile polling and voting that you're experiencing now, you're essentially taking part in something called crowdsourcing. How many of you know about crowdsourcing? Okay. So these fine pitches will be decided upon you and your vote and your crowdsourcing. So thanks to you guys, they'll be walking away with some potential money in hand. So with that being said, just want to briefly walk you through a recent launch of a mobile web platform that we've designed specifically geared towards Columbia Business School. For those of you who have your phone, I assume everyone does, if you could go to mgood.com, that would be great. You'll just pull up a mobile web page. So what's cool about the mobile web page? The mobile web page actually is a consolidation of currently about 50 not-for-profits around the United States. Each one has a little vignette, story to tell, some videos, but most importantly, they have something called a donate button. And by clicking that donate button, you can automatically give $10 to a charity of your choice. But for this example, we'll specifically look at Columbia. If you could just search on Columbia, that would be great. So most of you are attending this conference today, so you know obviously about the school, the social enterprise program, and what it offers. What it offers is several other student-led programs that need your donation today. So if you could just click on or search on Columbia, you'll recognize and see several videos there. You don't need to watch the videos now, but when you walk away, feel inspired by the videos. Understand what the students are doing here. Understand Pangea, understand the student-led consulting projects, etc. Microlumbia. Get to know the school a little bit better. And if you feel like you want to make an impact at that point, click on Donate Now, or get involved in the school and the programs itself a little bit more. So we'll be releasing a series of additional products and services to aid not-for-profits as well as social ventures as they move forward in their crowdfunding and crowdsourcing endeavors, along with an app and some other exciting partnerships with Agora and all to come. But thanks so much for your time, your crowdsourcing, and for making an impact today.
Adjust it for my height. So I'd like to thank everyone for coming to our social venture pitch competition today. Can we have a round of applause for our wonderful judges? And for our 3 amazing companies. So you all have been voting, and we have some results, but first I'm going to tell you what they've won. Jalia Ventures and Serious Change have sponsored a cash prize as well as the opportunity to meet with the Director of Investments, Keisha Cash, for Jalia Ventures, and Josh Mailman from Serious Change. And the Center for Social Innovation, which is opening a new social entrepreneur workspace in Chelsea this coming winter, has sponsored a 1-year hot desk package for our winner. So, Albert? Our winner is Powerhive.
Wow, I don't think I've ever seen that.
So, congratulations. Obviously, it was really close, and thank you to our companies.